Welcome to the Inner Alchemy Podcast. I'm Phoenix, and today I have a friend and a special guest, Patrick.
How's it going, Phoenix? Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, it's going great. I'm glad you're here. We've been trying to do this for a couple weeks, but illness and all the things have kind of done what they do.
Man, life's fun. Life likes to throw us curveballs and see how we mix metaphors with them.
Yeah. Let's start out with what do you do?
Oh, man. I find problems and fix them.
Yeah.
And I intentionally mean that in a meta way. It's something that I'm trying not to call its own problem and and fix the fixing.
Yeah.
But no, I mean I've been working for a medical software company for a while. Started off in support, fixing stuff there, and then moving to being a software engineer where I fix stuff before it gets released, hopefully. And then in my life, I like to find things that I can improve. One of the things that I've lived as kind of a guiding light, if you will, is this idea of leave things better than you found them. One of my, I don't know if it's my favorite thing. It's definitely not my favorite thing, but it's a thing I feel like I have to do whenever we go to the beach or to hiking or something like that.
Yeah.
I find trash and I'm the guy on the trail with a bunch of random trash that's not mine that I'm bringing back because I just feel like if we all did, I don't have to do a lot of that. I'm never the guy that's hey, it's cleanup day. Let's get a bag. Everybody fill a bag. It's no. Every time you go, just get a little bit and also don't leave your own. And that is kind of how I approach most things, not just hiking and beaches, but if we can do a little bit here and there to make things better than we found them, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
To make things the paradise that we all think that they can be.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and then as an adult, I was a Cub Master and with my son, and that was one of the things is we always left everywhere we went better than we found it.
That's beautiful.
And if that meant picking up trash or whatever, sometimes we would volunteer to do little work things that they needed. One of the camp out places that we used to go to a lot was the Hawkins Lake. And we would ask the guy that runs it, hey, is there anything that you need done that you could use a few extra hands for? And we do stuff like that. But so that's a great metaphor for all of life, though. Not only leaving places that you go better than you found them, but leaving people better than you found them.
Yeah.
Situations.
Yeah. And it's tough with people, though, because sometimes people don't want it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And that's been a lesson I've had to learn over my life, and I'm still learning, which is so much of the rejection that I felt, I think the strongest in my life has been this dual rejection of me trying to bring my gift to someone who doesn't want it, and then internalizing that rejection as if my gift really isn't valid.
Yeah.
And that's been hard, and that's been more of a recent thing that I'm recognizing is not everybody's ready. You know, that whole pearls before swine thing isn't really about pigs and pearls. It's about just people who can't handle or don't want what you have to offer. And that's okay.
Well, I think that you can still leave people better than you found them.
Sure.
Without their approval. And what I mean by that is if somebody strikes up a conversation with me talking about something in politics, hey man, did you hear what happened? And blah, 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 blah. And oh man, what if this happens? And oh man, these motherfuckers and all this stuff. I can't say my response is always this, but this is what I strive for. And it's not to engage with the fear aspect of what they're saying. And that's just to say, oh yeah, no, I haven't heard about that. Hey man, what have you been doing in your family? How's your wife doing? Or something like that, and redirecting the conversation.
Yeah.
And that from my perspective, I guess, is leaving them better than I found them.
No, I see you on that. I think that that's a trap that I used to fall into a lot is I was too aware of what was going on. And it was a very different awareness than most people would have to feel like they were aware. I was never someone who read the news, but I was paying attention to things in other ways and trying to track these patterns and trying to find kind of the power behind the throne. And so I would have a similar conversation and my reaction is well, yeah, actually the problem is different than you think it is. You think it's really this thing over here, but that's just the hand waving. What you really need to worry about is this thing over here. And thinking that I was like redirecting this energy and trying to leave this person better than I found them because I'm like giving them the inside scoop. But just realizing, that I'm actually playing the same fear game just on a different level.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot to unpack there. But the short version is one of the things that helped the most is just getting off social media and stop like consuming a bunch of stuff that was contributing to all that fear. But another thing is just moving past, like you said, the conversation at service level of, oh, there's all these insecurities I have about my own life. Let me project them onto world events, as opposed to I wish I remember where this came up, but I had this realization that whether or not we're sent here for some like soul mission, fix the world, whatever, doesn't matter. There's a certain level of, it's like the whole locus of control thing. Like you can't do anything about what's out here until you've handled what's right here. And I had this realization that there, by definition, will never be world peace until I have peace within myself.
Yeah.
And it came at a time when I was really struggling with this idea of surrender and how do I let go and how do I stop caring about this shit that's been so important to me. It has fueled so many conversations, so many hours of research. How do I just let go of it without feeling like I'm giving up? And it's like, well, are there still problems to solve on a global scale? Yeah, those didn't go away. Are there problems that I need to solve first on a hyper local me scale before I can even get there? Well, I don't know. I guess that gets to the whole like fixing and kind of the illusion of, is there anything to fix? Which is kind of a meta conversation that we can talk about later. But in the meantime, it's like, stop worrying about this when this still needs to be handled.
Right.
So yeah, the idea of leaving people better than you found them. I love the idea because you kind of brought in this subtle, like, I'm a very voluntaristic type person. I don't really like coercion. I don't like lots of things that government and institutions do to kind of make people do the thing and fall in line and all this thing.
Play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, I don't like your rules, man. I'm gonna make my own up. But at the same time, this idea of this improving people without their consent, like I'm struggling with it, man, because on the one hand, I love it, but on the other hand, it sounds familiar and not the best way. But I will say it does strike a chord because it's something that happens regularly.
Take the word manipulation, right? When you hear that word, what connotation does it carry for you?
Well, so, dang, I just got caught with two competing ideas because the emotional reaction is very negative. It's like, oh, manipulative, puppetry, But at the end of the day, manipulate just means to move around.
Right. Right. And so, and what's the difference between manipulate and influence?
I would say manipulate is to act directly upon something to make it move. Influence is to either through logic or emotion or some mixture of the two, cause something else to move in a way that you want it.
All right. Can they both be energetic?
I mean, yeah, everything's energy, right?
Right. I mean, so like what I mean by that is like, if I walk into a room,
sure,
can my energy both manipulate and influence the people in that room?
Well, yeah. I guess what I'm getting at,
not necessarily at the same time, but what would be the difference there?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at is like influence. I think manipulation, again, it gets back to whether we're talking about the emotionally charged, like negative version of manipulation, which is kind of like the narcissistic kind of deal, which is honestly a little more of influence, because what I was trying to disassociate it with was like actual physical manipulation. Like, let me manipulate this microphone around with my hand. So that would be something where it's direct action, and influence would be the person thinks that they're doing it because they want to, even though they probably even consciously would recognize that they want to because they were influenced.
Okay.
So that's the big difference.
So is it possible to be manipulated in a positive way?
Yeah.
Is it possible to be influenced in a positive way?
Yeah, and I mean, you were talking about that earlier with the Boy Scouts. Like you were manipulated by the Boy Scouts to want to clean up,
right,
and leave the environment cleaner. And I didn't have the Boy Scouts, so I don't really know where it came from for me. But at the same time, at some point I was influenced to want to leave things better than I found them. And so I take your point. And
I think you just freaking nailed exactly what it's going through in my head. And mind you, these aren't rhetorical questions. Like, I don't know the answer to them. I'm just trying to like, figure it out myself. But like manipulation, like the Boy Scouts manipulated me at a young age. And then as an adult, that manipulation turned into influence over the scouts that I was with, over the scouts that, and so like, when I ask, can it be positive, negative? Of course it can. Everything can. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But when I really look at my role, this was a struggle for me at first because the word manipulation carried negative connotation always. It was like if I was manipulating somebody, I mean, that was what I was accused of all the time when I was a kid. Is you're always manipulating situations for your benefit and my mom, and I'm like,
isn't that a human thing?
yeah, like right, like, I think that there can be a shadow aspect to that.
Absolutely,
obviously, control, force. These are all shadows that are sisters or friends with manipulation. But what I do is manipulate and influence people to see their own light.
Sure.
To see their own truths, to find that flame within themselves again. And I struggled with that for a while because I was like, it's not manipulation, it's encouragement. It's this. And whatever title I wanted to give it. But like ultimately, so that going back to what I said about leaving people better than I found them, that's a manipulative and influential thing. And it either works or it doesn't. That part I can't control.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I can show up as my best self, not engage with the things that I don't believe are going to be beneficial primarily for me, but also maybe for the person too. That's not up to me. But if I'm acting in accordance with my highest truth and my authentic self, well, then I believe that when that is an act of love or an act of compassion or empathy, that person is going to be left better than I found them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that you touched on is a big differentiator between kind of the shadow side of manipulation and then more of this kind of positive influence, which is I'm going to have this moment of interaction and I'm going to show up as my authentic self to this person. And part of that may or may not be a spotlight on some beautiful thing within them they just have ignored or been told is something that's actually ugly and they just need to reframe, whatever it is. I'm gonna have this moment. I'm gonna try and hold up a mirror, gift, whatever you want to call it. And they're gonna experience it how they experience it. And we're all gonna move on with our lives, however we do. The shadow side is, I have a goal. My goal is to, get some candy, I guess, is the child's version of you're manipulating the world. Like you just want candy. So you're just trying to cry and make me feel bad for you. So you get candy, like whatever it is. That kid doesn't stop crying till they get candy, right? That's the shadow aspect.
Right.
But if you're just like, hey, I hope you are better for this. And so here's this thing that I think that you should look at, then, do with it what you will and then move on and don't lose sleep over it. Don't keep coming back and be like, hey, did you figure it out? That's when it gets negative. So,
right. And talking about that form of manipulation, the child crying so the thing about shadow is that we don't know it's there until we do. Right. Yeah. And when we do, we either choose to pick up a flashlight and shine it on it or we run from it.
Yeah.
Or we deny it. We hide, repress, and deny. And that specific shadow, I guess you might call it probably the shadow of control, maybe force. But the unaware aspect of that in my first marriage, there was a time when my first wife and I separated where I was like, what can I do better? And she goes, well, I just feel like you're so controlling. And I was like, how? Like, I don't possibly see how I'm controlling, and I would ask her to give me examples. And she's like, well, I can never go hang out with my friends. And I'm like, when have I ever told you can't go hang out with I've never said anything about that. And she's like, well, I know. But she goes, well, sometimes when I want to, and I'll say it and I'll do it. And you know, when I come home, you tell me about how bad you missed me and like how bad,
Mm,
you know, how you were miserable without me there and, you know, stuff like that. And she goes, and that makes me feel bad for going and doing it. And I was
yeah.
like, oh shit, you know, and like even at the time I wasn't like, oh yeah, you're right. You know, I was manipulating you, you know, but I'm just like, well, I do miss you and I do, you know, whatever.
Right.
But like looking back now, I see that was a shadow aspect of manipulation that I was unaware of that I was
Potentially.
doing.
Potentially. I mean, could have just been your authentic self. Like, I miss you,
Yeah.
babe, you know? And that's where it gets tough because there it's a chicken and egg. So I'm not even going to try and talk about where the cause is, but there is a pattern within people of people pleasing
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to manage other people's emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
so you are kind of in a bit of a minefield situation of, I have this legit feeling in my heart that when I'm apart from you, I feel like something's missing. I want to be with you again.
Right.
And so even though I know you're having fun, in the meantime, I'm sad.
Yeah.
And a healthy person can hear that and say, okay, find some fucking hobbies, you know?
Right. Right.
Another person might hear that and be like, oh no, I need to manage his emotions and I need to not go do whatever makes him sad. And that's where relationships can be really tough, especially when, you know, we are trying to figure these things out and we
Yeah.
don't have someone who's doing the work alongside us
Mm-hmm.
because you can fall into those shadow patterns without even without trying, without knowing, and without
Yeah.
having that mirror that's going to help you come out of it.
Well, I think when I look back on it, I mean, one, I believe I was extremely codependent in that relationship and probably all of the relationships until about 2, 3 years ago, you know, even when I met Raina, I was very codependent.
Yeah.
And I noticed that pattern in myself at the beginning of our relationship. I was like, oh shit, I am so afraid of losing her, so afraid some guy's going to come by and sweep her off her feet and freaking she's going to leave me or cheat on me or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
that I am unknowingly saying certain things to manipulate her emotional state to where she doesn't leave me. And that's not the kind of relationship I want to be in,
No.
you
Yeah. I
know?
see you.
And so it was a combination of that and seeing that pattern. I was like, oh shit, like this isn't good. This isn't where I want to be. And anyway, so yes, I do, you know, I think that there was some people pleasing tendencies there too
Mm-hmm.
on that side. And so there, you know, to just say that I was controlling wasn't very fair, but it also helped me learn to dig into why she would feel that way and because control isn't just physical, like grabbing things and
No,
saying,
absolutely.
no,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that. You know,
Right.
it's like we can unconsciously have this need to control things to avoid the fear of whatever we're afraid is going to happen if we don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So much of what we talk about, like in general, like just all of our conversations, not just today,
Yeah.
but is things that we, because of the way experience works, feel not always isolated, but unique. My perspective on so much of this as it continues to mature is that like there are unique aspects to all of our experiences,
Mm.
no doubt. And so much of what we're experiencing is like a human phenomenon, you
Yeah.
know? And this idea, I kind of touched on it earlier of like, oh, a child manipulating their environment to get what they want, like that's fucking normal. Like
Yeah.
that's what all humans do. And this idea of like that extending into adulthood, into our relationships and emotional management and all these things, like it's not always done well. And so I
Right.
think that's where people like might bristle at the idea of, oh, that's just what humans do. It's because most people have experienced it in the negative
Yeah.
and it's been weaponized and it hasn't felt good in their body and they haven't felt safe because of it and all these things. And maybe they've never experienced it in a good way. And I'm not here advocating for control. I mean, let me take a step back and go back to the whole volunteerism thing. Like if you're not making a voluntary choice about how you show up in life, then then you're not free, either internally or externally.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, this idea of I have this feeling, I have this relationship, and I am showing up in a way that is modulating myself or the other, again, let's look at intention. Let's look at the goal. Let's look at the importance that we're placing on this and how much we keep coming back to this pattern. And also, it's not inherently bad.
Right. Again, when I'm all up in Gene Keys. Like Gene Keys is like,
man, I kind of fell off. I need to get back on it.
Well, and it's not even necessarily Gene Keys themselves, because, I'm in a group on Facebook called Gene Keys Global.
Okay.
And it's like the Gene Keys people started this group. And so it's
cool.
like the official group for Gene Keys. But there's some, people in there that talk about, the way this key connects to this one, and like I can't remember what they call it, the different sequences and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And so when I say I'm into Gene Keys, like I'm not. If you're into astrology, you can know your sign. You can know about your sign, right?
What it's compatible with,
right?
It's air, fire.
But like when you start talking about Mars being in sync with Jupiter and Mercury doing this and that's a whole different level.
Yeah, true.
Of understanding of the system itself, right? And so I have very little understanding of the system itself.
I see you. Yeah.
But it's the beauty in seeing the duality in all of it, like in the gift, in the shadow, in the siddhi, like, and so Gene Keys for me, it's a guide to shadow work. But there's one thing that, stands out that I constantly remind people of, including myself, is that shadow doesn't equal bad. Shadow doesn't equal toxic.
Yeah.
Shadow equals lowest vibration, lowest frequency. But within that frequency, there's also light,
Yeah.
And so like you take the shadow of control, the one we've been talking about, which is Gene Key 21, by the way. Yep.
For those playing along at home.
Yeah. But you take the shadow of control and you think about, okay, well, control's bad. I need to stop controlling. I can't control anything. Okay. But then you play video games and you grab a controller and you're sitting there controlling the game, right? Like, what's wrong with that? Nothing. But like you said, intention a second ago, I'm controlling something. What is my intention in controlling this? Is it to avoid this outcome that I'm afraid will happen if I don't? Is it to ultimately, that's it.
Yeah, right.
The reasons we control things are either because we're afraid of something or because we want something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't remember which one, but one of the Gene Keys, he talks about like the primal fear of death, right? That like it's the universal fear, and now we live in this life of plenty and this life of safety and health and all this. And so, yeah, death's inevitable, but it's not nearly as imminent as it was, when a lot of these archetypal patterns got formed within our brains. And now the fear is, I wish I could remember what he said, but it was basically like the fear of ignominy or purposelessness, I think was what it was.
You just said a word, I have no idea what it means.
Ignominy, people are going to fact check me, so I'm just going to admit.
Or they're not.
Yeah, ignorance to a degree, but I think it's like the opposite of fame, like obscurity,
Okay.
But I could be using that word wrong. But so anyway, yeah, so like purposelessness, feeling like, you're not really seen in life and like you're not really here for any reason, like you're not doing anything, you're not contributing, you're not leaving things better than you found them, sort of deal. And that's really the primary fear. And so that so much of the control, like really most of these shadows come as a reaction to that fear. And like how can I show up in a way where I feel fulfilled, I feel like I have purpose and all of this. And I don't know. You said something that really resonates, where fear has driven so much of how I show up in life. And we were talking before the podcast started about this idea of being reactionary as opposed to like proactive. And I've tended to just roll with the fact that like in a conversation, like I flow so much better when I just react and I riff with the person as opposed to, this is what we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
And I'm recognizing now as I'm processing live that so much of that is the reaction to fear and like trying to like curate my life in a way that avoids the things that I'm afraid of. And, there's an acronym, false evidence appearing real. So fear is rarely, if ever, like a real thing. It's just something that you're hallucinating in your mind. Like, I got to stay away from that thing. And you spend so much time and energy like trying to control whether it's, you know, your partner's emotions or whether it's like your workplace persona of like looking like, hey, I'm always getting shit done. Like, don't fire me, you know, or whatever it is. You're controlling something to try and avoid this thing that you're afraid of. And recognizing that and realizing that's not how I want to live is really just the first step. Because then it's like, okay, that's not how I want to live, but how do I want to live?
Right.
I've spent so much of my time orienting myself away from things. And something you said about the shadow reminded me of something that I was thinking about a few months back. And it was one of those moments where, you know, you feel really inspired and you think you've got it all figured out, but then the moment passes and you're like, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
And so to translate it poorly, basically it's the idea that what the shadow isn't actually ourself as much as it is like behind me. I've got shadows because this light is hitting me.
Yeah.
And the shadow is a definition of myself, but it's a definition in the negative. And so it has a lot of information about who I actually am. It's just not representative of who I am.
Yeah.
And so we can look at the shadow and we can use it to work our way back to like, what is the light? But actually the light itself isn't us either. You know, what we are is really this thing that the light is reflecting off of. And I'm kind of losing the thread.
That's all right.
The idea was already half baked to begin with, and now I'm trying to tie it in on the fly. But I guess what I'm getting at is like so much of what I've been orienting my life around is like, okay, this light hits me. It creates this shadow. I don't want that shadow. Let me run away from that shadow.
Yeah.
As opposed to this light, like I'm not any of this. I'm just this thing operating here. And instead of running away from what I don't want, what do I do want? Well, there's lots of different lights, right? And how do I pick the light that I actually want to move to? And how do I orient myself to move to that as opposed to just being afraid and trying to be not in shadow? And it's one of those mindset shifts that like it makes sense as you say it. Like immediately it's like, yeah, choose the thing you want. Don't avoid the thing you don't want. And that part's really easy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, holy shit, when was the last time I really sat down and said, what do I actually want?
In our society and culture, in American culture, what do you think? Well, let's hone in on our community, like in the East Texas area. What do you think one of the greatest ways in which we can view people obviously trying to control something?
I think this is one that I have mixed feelings about. So I guess it goes back to that. Is it really bad? I don't really know, but I would say that it's norming. And I think that this one really is not just unique to our community.
Yeah.
I think it's really all communities. And at the end of the day, again, it makes sense. Like there are patterns of behavior that when you act outside of a certain pattern of behavior, all of the different heuristics that the mind uses to decide how to treat something, they're broken because they're like, this pattern doesn't fit any of the patterns I know about. So you need to fucking like get with the program, man.
Yeah.
Like, why are you researching this thing? Or why are you behaving this way? Or why are you like...
So it's like fitting into the mold that...
People know what to expect.
So yeah, and that uncovers a whole thing because that's why we mask. You know, that's why we...
Damn, yeah.
That's why we are afraid to be our most authentic self, because it's not normal. At least that's what the ego tells us, right?
Sure.
And safety is found in normalcy. Safety is found in environments that don't change, environments that remain trustworthy, if you will.
Yeah.
And I use trustworthy lightly there because, I mean, you can learn to trust just about anything if you really want to.
Well, that, and I can tell you, we haven't really dived into my story much, but there's so much of what appears trustworthy that's like, nope.
Right.
You know?
But that's the fear that drives somebody to wear a mask, to be something so that they can fit in, because if they don't fit in, then they'll be chastised, rejected, whatever. And so we we attempt to control our environment by pretending to like something, pretending to be part of a group.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, dude, I saw, so I'm in this other group on Facebook called Galactic. What's the word? Galactic. It's not Galactic Federation. Starts with a D.
The Galactic Defense Force.
No, like a group. What do you call like a board of like people?
The directorship.
No. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like galactic group
club.
of people of light workers.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't know why I can't think of that word right now, but
Alliance?
it'll probably come to me
Yeah, sure.
later.
Yeah.
But and so like light workers, right?
Yeah,
Like that's a term that, you know, I guess spiritual or awakened people use to describe somebody who's working to bring light back into our world, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway,
Lucis.
somebody on there posted yesterday and they said, so is calling yourself or one of your children an indigo? Is that just the spiritual ego going on a rampage? And I was like, yes, you know, because, and mind you,
Yeah.
5-6 years ago, dude, when I read about indigo children and light workers and all stuff, I was like, that's me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm doing, you know? And so then I went down this whole rabbit trail of like, oh, maybe I'm from a different planet and my soul incarnated here so I could, you know, bring the world to light. And I mean, this epiphany, it's been somewhat recent over the last few months, but it's like, there is no one coming to save us, period. And that hurt, right? But because of the fear of living in a world that seems so dark, seems so unempathetic. What's the opposite of empathy? You know, I don't know, but you know, we constantly, and I mean, I think it came a lot from Christianity too, because like growing up hearing Jesus is coming back soon, Jesus is coming back soon, Jesus is coming back soon. And so then I left the church, and then the Jesus is coming back soon turned into the fifth dimension. There's a new earth being created for people, and you know.
Well, and then on the other side of things, you've got people like Q who are like promising like the white knight theory and
like QAnon.
QAnon.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a spiritual side of it. There's a political side of it. There's a red version. There's a blue version. There's a green version.
There's always looking for somebody coming to save us, right?
Yeah.
And so like then you either align with the people who are creating the 5D earth, or the people who are waiting for Jesus to come back, or the people who think Trump is the savior, or it doesn't matter. But like essentially what I commented on that post was that we are all always looking to belong somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And when you stop, when you come to the realization, if you will, I guess, and I don't know if you would call this awakening. I don't like the term awakening.
Sure.
Because I think that it implies that I'm better than somebody else, or I know something somebody doesn't.
Yeah.
I just think that ultimately it's self-actualization, which is at the top of the hierarchy of needs, right? But like when you come to realize that you've always belonged, that you've never not belonged, and when you can see that you are the unique expression of you and there's nothing else to belong to, well then what's the need for a mask after that?
Yeah. Man, that's true. Dude, I thought I was going somewhere with this one, but you threw another curveball.
We're kind of all over the place. I love it.
It's my favorite. It makes me feel a lot better that I keep losing the thread, because it's like there's too many to keep track of. We're on like a spider's web.
Well,
right now.
you know, and that's one thing I love about you, Patrick. Like that's the gold I see in you, is like you and I could sit here and have these kinds of conversations all day long.
We will, yeah.
And it never gets old, you know. It never kind of, what's the word, like just kind of burns out, you know.
Sure.
And so I appreciate that about you. And you're like a walking dictionary in thesaurus, you know.
My cousin called me Pat GPT one day, and I was so mad. I was like, dude, you're just fucking with me. And then like I've just kind of leaned into it. Because he's not the first time. Like, it's not the first time someone has said something like that. And it was, part of it was just that the little kid in me who like really wanted the validation of being intelligent, because for a while it was like, wow, you're so fucking smart. And then like stopped caring. So I stopped getting good grades, and then I started getting in trouble. And it's like, well, I thought I was smart. Who cares what my grades are? You know? Anyway, there's baggage about it. And I was just like, oh, I don't know. But then it's like, to your point, just realizing like it honestly doesn't matter. Like I don't need to wear the mask of intelligent. I don't need to wear the mask of humble. I don't need to wear the mask of anything. I can just kind of roll with it and just show up how I want to show up and just have fun.
Just be you, man. And like, luckily for you, intelligent doesn't have to be a mask.
Yeah. I appreciate that. That's really kind of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You were talking about no one's coming to save us. And we talked about these different like white knight mythologies, you know, whether it's the Pleiadians or QAnon, which it really all it does is just reinforce like the victim hero paradigm. Like you are either a victim or you are a hero. And the truth is like neither is ever the case. Like you either adopt the persona of the victim or you adopt the persona of the hero, but we're just human beings just living our life, you know? And it is, again, it's a chicken and egg, and I don't want to project onto a system that might not actually be doing this, but I feel like the idea of that split is something that's very conducive to the reality we find ourselves in. Like this, you know, you can't have a lot of the systems that people rail against or benefit from because they're either the victim or the hero. And the hero, like sometimes it's an anti-hero, right? Like good or bad. I mean, the hero is really more the victor. You know, you've got the victor and the victim, right? And we like to think of like the white knight hero who's going to come save everybody. But sometimes the victor is not that at all. They're the black knight, right? They're coming in and slaughtering and, you know, pillaging and whatnot. We were talking about, you know, consent earlier about like, manipulating people for their good. Like literally one of the things that I realized a few years ago, and it kind of took me off of this hyper political path, is recognizing that everything requires consent. Like even when there's coercion, even when there's force, even when there's a black knight running through and like burning down the village, there's an element of consent because the victim mindset says, I can't do anything about it. Yeah. And is like I might grab my women and children and run to the forest and let them have the village. So they're consenting to have the village burned. Or I'm going to grab my sword and shield and I'm going to fight the bastard, and they're consenting to dying. And so it's just about choices. And I think that's one of the things that is so dangerous about this white knight mythology is it takes away people's responsibility. And it tells them, don't worry about the choices you make day to day. Yeah. Someone will fix it for you. Yeah. Which is such bullshit.
Yeah, that's the paradox, man, because it's like, oh yeah, Jesus is coming back to do what? To save us.
Dude,
to save you from what?
Oh man.
Well, to save you from the temptation and the sin and this and that. And I'm like, so somebody else is coming to save you from the very things that you are participating in. And
dude, doing. Yeah, right.
Like, why do you need a savior to do that?
Yep.
Why can't you be your own savior?
Yeah, hot take, but you know, we were talking about addiction earlier today, and it's like, I was a very serious alcoholic for a hot minute. And so I get both sides of it, but also how did I stop drinking? I just stopped putting alcohol in my body. You know,
how did you do it, bro? I just didn't open my mouth anymore.
Yeah, right. I didn't inhale. No, but the idea that like, oh, we need this savior to get us to do stuff differently. Yeah. Again, it's just like projecting our responsibility onto someone else. And I don't know. There's a lot of social commentary in there that probably isn't right for right now. But I will say this, you know, you said something that reminded me of something I was watching yesterday, and I don't remember who it was, and I don't know enough about him to want to name drop him anyway, but he basically was talking about like, we hold Jesus up as like this miracle worker. And he talks about this passage, and I'm not a Bible scholar, so I'm going to butcher it, but basically he says something to the effect of like, everything I've done is nothing compared to what you can do. Yeah. Like, I'm not even here to be this savior guy. I am here to show you what it looks like to connect with this thing that makes me this thing that you call the Messiah.
Yeah.
But really, you will do way greater things
Yeah.
than I will. Once you just, I know you hate the term awakening, but once you wake the fuck up and realize what it is you actually are, bro, your power level is way beyond 9,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, I heard something similar to that. Now, the scripture you're talking about, I know what it is. You two will do greater things than these, you know, and like, I believe that, you know, and I haven't witnessed myself turning water into wine or anything like that, but I'm working on it, you know. I mean, if I really wanted to drink wine that bad, I might really post a lot more, but it's easier just to go buy it instead of, you know, trying to turn it. But they were talking about the mustard seed one because there's a verse where it says faith the size of a mustard seed will move mountains.
Yes.
Right. And you always think, you know, mustard seeds are really little, right? And so you're like, all I need is a little bit of faith, right? But that thinking is also shameful, you know, because you're like, I must not even have enough
little bit of faith. Yeah. Fair.
You know, because I can't move this mountain, or I can't turn this water into wine, or I can't stop drinking.
Yeah.
You know, or I can't, whatever it is.
Right.
But here's the thing. It's not about the size of the mustard seed. It's that it's a fucking mustard seed. And if you plant it, it'll grow into a fucking mustard tree or plant or bush or whatever, right? And so it knows that it's a mustard seed. It knows that this is why I'm here. This is exactly what I'm going to do. And it has all the faith in the world that it's a mustard seed that's going to grow into a fucking mustard plant.
Absolutely.
And so it's not the size of your faith. It's what your faith is in.
Oh, dude, that hits so hard because it's I'm reading this book. It's called The Wisdom of Uncertainty by Alan Watts, and I'm really, really loving it. It's perfectly timed. But one of the things that he talks about is belief and faith, the difference between belief and faith. We, in this world, we're constantly looking for certainty because that's how our mind works, is we want to put things in boxes. We want to define things. We want to timestamp it. But our mind works that way, but the world does not.
Right.
Like literally as we're talking here, both of us are changing.
Yeah.
The world is changing. If I said things are this way, as soon as I finish saying this way, well, things are now different.
Yeah.
Sorry about you. So anyway, he talks about belief as like belief is fixed. I believe in this thing. I believe in the things being this way.
Yeah.
As opposed to faith being just really more this acceptance of what is. Like the mustard seed, if it believed that it was a mustard seed, it would be like, yeah, I'm too fucking small for that mountain. But it has faith that, yeah, I'm a mustard seed. And what does that mean? Well, when I get out of my own way, I become this big, beautiful plant that does whatever that mustard plant does.
I mean, make mustard.
Yeah.
What else do they do? You know?
I mean, look, I think mustard has solved a lot of the world's problems.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there.
I mean, especially if it's Grey Poupon.
You just wanted to say poop.
Yeah, maybe. Doo-doo.
Yeah. Oh man. Don't get me started about what it means to do.
You know, when you said a second ago, like as we're having this conversation, we're both changing, right?
Yeah.
The first thought that occurred to me was in the realm of quantum understanding and realizing, and you know, all of this is theoretical. I'm not posting facts here, okay? But like,
If anybody comes at us like scientists, like
yeah,
they've got their
fuck
own
you.
problems.
Yeah, like I'll use their negativity to my advantage.
There you go.
But
Feed the machine.
yeah, feed the algorithm.
Yeah, please give us hate.
Yeah, bring it on. But from the quantum perspective, rather than we're changing, right? It's that we're shifting between the infinite versions of ourselves.
Oh yeah.
Coming to the new version that understands something a little differently than the version that was talking 5 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
And so like, it asks. This may be a silly question, I guess, or not, but do we actually change or do we just become?
Nice. Yeah, I love that.
And that's like, I've really, really, through making all the Gene Keys contemplations, the Letters to Myself series, remembrance has become like this deeply spiritual and intellectual thing for me, where I recognize that the changes that I see in my life are due to remembering things that it's not that I had forgotten them. It's just that I didn't remember them before. Like when I believed myself to be a piece of shit, it's because I didn't remember that I wasn't.
Sure.
And I didn't remember who I was at my core, whether that's, I don't know what it is.
What do you really mean by change? Because we typically think of change as if this thing needs to change, like something's wrong with it. We need to change it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because like when you talk about like, well, it's really just about remembering. It's about like going from this place of being fractured and membering ourselves back together into this whole. Like that sounds from a certain perspective to be like, that's a positive improvement, right?
Yeah.
So like we're getting better in this remembering. So it's like that, maybe that's a similar pattern. It's just taking, I think a big part of it is it's taking the pressure off of it, because this idea that I have something wrong with me that I need to change, that I need to fix, there's so much importance that like I need to figure out how to fix this thing today. And going back to something we said earlier, like that's a belief. Like I believe there's something wrong with me. I need to fix it today.
Yeah.
Versus I have faith that the universe is conspiring in my favor. I am not yet the best version of myself, or even if I am, like things just always get better, and I'm just going to allow reality to unfold as it unfolds. I'm going to keep showing up as my best self. I'm going to become whoever I need to become.
Yeah.
While also just being who I am. I think that's another thing is like, there's doing, being, and becoming. And I feel like becoming is like this merging of being and doing that takes out some of the conflict, because the idea is that like doing is very task oriented, like tick the box, and being is just like easy, like Sunday morning, like nothing to do, just from some perspectives like fucking lazy, and really hard for me to sit with as someone who like wants to fix things. Like I can't just be, you know, but if I'm becoming, then I can let the doing do itself while being me. And as like a conscious agent in this world, like, yes, of course, I'm going to be part of that doing.
I think that being, which is also jinky to the city, but being is, we perceive being to mean doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Like
right. Just existing.
Yeah. Whatever that looks like. And, I think maybe, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, I think of being as, I mean, cause you say I'm being the most authentic version of myself. Right. And if you say I'm being an asshole, I'm like, you can be while also doing, but like it depends on what it is you're doing, I guess, so like if I say, just let yourself be, man, if you're in your head saying, man, I do this or I do this, and I'm so tired of myself like this, to me, that's not being.
You're right. Yeah.
Right. Being is, man, I freaking love podcasting. And so I'm going to get equipment and I'm going to do all the things I want to do. And I can be me authentically while doing all of the things that I'm passionate about.
Absolutely.
It's like, so it's essentially being is what we would describe as the present moment.
Yep.
It's not dwelling on who you were or focusing on who you want to be. It's being who you are in every moment of every day and all of the things that encompasses.
Absolutely. That's a great reframe. And it's funny, that's similar to what that book I was telling you about also is saying, because it talks about the split between I, who's constantly trying to define, and me, who just is. And when you say like, I am an asshole, like that's this saying, I define myself as an asshole, but me no asshole, like it's just like me reacting, me having a pattern. And at the end of the day, we spend so much of our time in some hallucinatory state of the past or the present.
Yeah.
And it's never even, and I say hallucinatory intentionally because like the future, we haven't been there. We don't know what it is. So
Right.
we're completely hallucinating that. And the past, we think that like, oh, when I got here, we got our waters and we sat down and we set the cameras up. And so I remember that. Like I have a very vivid, but that's not true because
Right.
I'm not in that moment anymore. So I'm hallucinating a memory that
Right.
has these certain qualities about it that make me think, that are convincing enough to make me think I really remember that and I can relive that, but it's not true. I can only ever live now. And this idea of being, I love it because it's like anything that you do in such a way that you are completely removed from any other moment other than the present moment is being, even if you're also quote unquote doing something.
Right.
And finding that sweet spot, like that, I think that's what most people talk about when they're like, oh, I want to find my passion. They're looking for that thing that they can do day in, day out.
Me.
Yes.
Just being is one thing, but we also sometimes have to look at ourselves and dive into the things that are getting in our way from being, right? So we haven't talked much about your life, where you come from, stuff like that. But in terms of shadow, what would you say is a shadow aspect that you've integrated that wasn't always the case?
I think integrated is still a work in progress, but I think the reason I'm still choosing this one, even though there probably are ones that I've integrated better, is I was shocked by this one when I finally really let it settle in and owned it, is judgment. And I have tended to view myself in a way as if I'm non-judgmental. I've historically been someone who I was a study of a bunch of different religions. Like I connected with a lot of different people. Like I was the guy in high school who, speaking of belonging, I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. And also I could meld well with anybody, regardless of their race, creed, their jock, stoner, whatever. And part of it I felt was because I wasn't being judgmental, I was just showing up and being me and like being accepted for that. But in the past year or so, doing more intentional work around shadow and things like that, I've recognized that I'm super fucking judgmental. And it's just, it shows up in a slightly different way than I've identified it in other people. And part of it is it's a lot quieter. I mean, like most of the people who I'm like, oh man, they're fucking judgmental. Which, hey, that should have been my first sign now that I think about it. They're very loud about it. And there's like the caricature uncle who's like racist at the Thanksgiving table type deal. Oh, they're just being super judgmental. But it's not always so loud and in your face. Like and what has been helpful about it is recognizing that it's not always externalized too.
Yeah.
The thing that helped me recognize how judgmental I was is also, I think the primary benefit of it is recognizing that I'm not saying I'm not judgmental of other people, but before I'm judgmental of other people, I'm super judgmental of myself. And typically what I'm doing is I'm even like leveraging other people to be judgmental towards myself, because instead of, and don't get me wrong, there are times where I just like plain direct shit on myself, like as myself. But usually what it is, I will, again, this hallucinating these past and future scenarios where my mind is coloring that hallucination with a projection of my own judgment of self onto someone else, as if it's really their judgment. And it's like I'm reliving a past situation through the lens of someone else's perspective of how shitty I am. Or I'm like, oh, I can't go in and do this because they're going to look at me and they're going to see that. And then it's going to have this outcome that's undesirable. And fuck it, I'm not going to waste my time with that. And none of that's real. And it's not even them. It's me, like basically making assumptions about how they would show up and then using my own thought patterns against myself to just not do a thing. Which
It's if you have a core belief or a judgment of yourself that you're a piece of shit, then you assume everyone else thinks you're a piece of shit. And like the way you show up in life, the way you show up in family, the way you show up in everything that you do is automatically from the assumption that this person's going to think of you in the same way that you think of you. And the unfortunate part is you don't realize that it's you thinking of you like that until you do. And then when you do, you're like, oh shit, like that person was actually trying to be nice to me and I was a dick to them because I thought they were judging me for being an asshole, but I'm not.
Yeah. All of a sudden you see a lot of past interactions through a whole different light and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
And you can also get trapped in the, oh, I wish I could relive it. But that's just another form of judgment. It's, oh, I did it wrong. And it's, no, I did it. And now I'm learning something from it. So there's a benefit from it. But could I have done it better? Sure. But who cares? Because I did it and that's done. And I'm not going to use that. There's a phrase that I've used often where I'm like, I'm constantly looking for bats.
Yeah.
And these bats are, the judgments are these bats that I'm just hitting myself with. And it's, I can look back and say, oh, I wish I did it different and have another bat. Or I can just be like, I don't need to pick that bat up. I've got plenty.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set bats.
And the gift in the from Jinki's perspective, the gift is the shadow's judgment. The gift is integrity. And the Siddhi is perfection. And that seems weird that the Siddhi would be perfection.
Sure.
When the shadow is judgment, but it's not. It's like perfection isn't what we've been taught it is. Perfection is not flawlessness.
Yep.
It's recognizing that you already are, and I've always been perfect exactly the way you are.
Yeah, I'm getting chills hearing you say that. It ties into something you said earlier about remembering and like this idea of becoming. And it's not like I'm not remembering something I forgot. It's just I'm remembering. I'm just recognizing something that's always been there. And there's been this veil that's prevented me from really seeing things as they are. And what we're calling remembering is just the removing of that veil and seeing closer to the signal of truth. I have a friend, Christian, who I met recently. He's a really kind, wise person. And we were talking to him about kids and like how you show up for your children. And he was talking about how, like, we were basically just talking about different messages that we give our kids. And one of the things that we say is, hey, I love you no matter what you say or do, which honestly has an implication that like they could say or do the wrong things, but don't worry, I love you anyway. Yeah. And so I didn't really see it that way. I just was like, no, I'm just trying to say, hey, don't worry, you're safe. Which I think the message still comes through and is true. And also what Christian was sharing with me is that he would basically tell his kids at about the same time frame of their life and day, you're perfect, exactly as you are. And it was interesting because in me, I had this like reaction, like I wanted to reject that statement, not for his kids, because I'm sure they're amazing.
No, they're not. They can't be perfect because I'm not. Goddamn it.
Yeah, right, exactly. That projection again. Yeah. No, but really, it was like two things. It's really one thing. It's just this logical rejection of perfection. Like you were saying, that we have the wrong idea of it because like the Greek gods, they were perfect and we held them up, not because we were ever going to be them, but that's the North Star. Like orient yourself towards that. If you want to be like that, you'll never be that. It at least gives you something to point to. That's the thing about perfection is you cannot attain it, but you can attain to it. And it gives you something to calibrate off. But the idea that you are perfect, then what's the point? What are we doing anything for if we're perfect?
Yeah.
Isn't the whole point to live and grow and improve and all this? And that shows my own biases. But anyway, like it's so logical. It's so like the definition of perfect. No, that's not it. But the reality is it's saying the same thing in a more kid-friendly language. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you say or do. Like you're worthy of love. You're perfect exactly as you are. And he explained it to me in more words than that. And throughout the conversation, I felt that resistance soften and I felt the warmness of it all. And I was like, yeah, man, that must be really nice.
Yeah. I think of it like this. Perfection, again, as the Siddhi in Gene Keys, is essentially a remembering that there is no one else on this earth that can be as Patrick as you are. And there's no one else on this earth that can be as Phoenix or as Brad as I am. And in terms of Patrick, you're perfect. And in terms of Phoenix, I'm perfect. Yeah. And that encompasses all of the shadow, all of the past, all of the future. no one's done it like me. No one's fucked their shit up like me. No one's recovered like me.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know?
shit. Yeah.
No one's done all the things that I get to do and will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fucking me. And I'm glad that I remember that. And there's times I fucking forget still.
No, dude. Yeah.
And I still have to remember again.
Yeah.
But like that remembering that I've already attained perfection because it was never something I wasn't.
Yeah. You never lost it.
Exactly.
And that's what the remembering means. It's like, I'm not regaining something. It's like you got a glass of milk and you came back, sit down at the couch and you're like, oh shit, I forgot to get a glass of milk. So, oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
You have everything you need.
Yeah.
Now, okay, there's two things. One, the snaps was about like, okay, you think about a good movie, right? And are we living in a movie? I don't know. But the narrative arc of a character doing everything well all the time is fucking boring. But whether it's a movie or whether it's like that in like a football game, oh, he's about to fumble but then he gets it and then he gets the touchdown.
Yeah.
It's like that moment of, oh shit. And then, oh shit.
Yeah.
Is fucking beautiful.
Yeah. If he wouldn't have almost fumbled it,
it wouldn't matter. Like
wouldn't
it
have
wouldn't
a
be
thing.
it wouldn't be as cool. And I feel that so strongly. Because again, going back to the judgment, one of the key judgments is, oh, I'm way behind.
Yeah.
I'm not where I should be. Which like dovetails perfectly because it's no, everything is perfect exactly where it is. It is.
Yeah.
So quit fighting it. And also there's that comeback story that's so fun. But you were saying something about no one's going to ever be as Phoenix as you Phoenix, and no one's going to be as Patrick as I Patrick. And it reminded me something that I was thinking of. We were talking about earlier, that merge of being and doing, like being passion and whatnot. And the same idea of this perfect, you are perfect.
yeah.
You can never not be Phoenix. I can never not be Patrick. I don't have an inauthentic self. Like we were talking earlier about having masks and how when we wear our masks to fit in with society and the norms and all that, like there's an implication there, again, a judgment that like there's something wrong with that we need to get rid of the mask. We need to be more truly authentic ourselves. And the reality that we're not actually being inauthentic. It's just that's what's coming through at the time. And in this lens of you are perfect, this lens of taking away negative attribution to things because what are we doing with those negative attribution? We're typically using them to either keep ourselves stuck in them or make other people feel bad about the fact they're in those spaces. It's very like yes, sometimes there's the whole like, okay, I need you to see how bad this is so you'll be motivated to change. And
Yeah.
okay, I see value in that. But also at the same time, when you're doing it to yourself, I don't know. It's the whole honey and vinegar thing.
But you have to experience those things to be the perfection of yourself. You know what I mean? Like and we go into like predestination and shit like that and say, okay, this is where I start life. This is where I end life. And everything in the middle has already been determined. I'm going to make this mistake. I'm going to recover from it. But this time I make the mistake. That's the end. It's going to fuck me up. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know what that is, if it's true, if it's not true, if we have free will, if we don't have free will, if there's an afterlife or a before life or any of those things. And honestly, like those things are cool to ponder. They're cool to try to wrap my head around. But I've also accepted the fact that there's no way that I could possibly comprehend what infinity is. You know what I mean? We think infinity, we think of a big ass number and we're like, yeah, I think I got a grasp on it. But like infinity is just, it's fucking infinity. Like you can't comprehend. There's no way. Anyway. And I promise.
Infinity is shorthand.
Right. But you're saying like even the shadow aspects, they're perfection too, because without them, without all of that shit, all of the shadow, all of the mistakes, all of the everything that I would consider imperfect or flaws, I wouldn't be the fucking perfect Phoenix talking to the fucking perfect Patrick today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, that all unravels into the universe is always conspiring in our favor. The universe, guys, it's not out there. It's in here. And everything in here is always conspiring in your favor, even the negative shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny you just talked about that perspective shift. So about a year ago, I had this eye-opening experience that one of the immediate practices after was, hey, I'm going to start this journal And I called it my Track the Good Stuff journal. And it wasn't like rose-colored glasses in it. And I knew I wasn't like denying that bad shit can't happen, because bad shit did happen in that same time. But the journal was only for good stuff. And I was only writing good stuff down that happened that day. And after about 6 months, I stopped. And the main reason I stopped is because I recognized two main things. One is that I was having trouble stopping at one page, and I didn't want this wasn't meant to be like a document my whole day. It was really just a way to be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, there's lots of good stuff. And so I was like, okay, there's plenty of good stuff. I just haven't been seeing it. And the other thing I recognize is that, with the exception of unique experiences that can only happen in those moments, so much of what I was writing down was not new.
Yeah.
I just hadn't been seeing it.
Yeah.
Like, it's as we're doing this podcast right now, we've got the equipment between us, but when we're dialed into the conversation, we see each other, and we're not seeing the equipment that's honestly making this all happen.
Yeah.
And it was this very similar thing where I had all this good stuff around me, family stuff, job stuff, all the different things. And I just wasn't seeing it because it wasn't where my focus was. But I took a little time to look around and, oh yeah, it's been there this whole time. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And still the judgment, and still but you're not perfect.
Yeah.
And this year, my intention is, my kids and I went roller skating. They got skates for Christmas, and I've had rollerblades in my closet collecting dust for a couple of years. Last time I tried to skate, I was still like way actively drinking, and I did very poorly. And I wasn't drunk at the time, but I was hungover. Yeah. And it was sad. But so I had very low expectations. I thought I was going to get out there, skate around for about 10 minutes, be winded, and just sit and watch and cheer them on. I had so much fucking fun. And I was a skater as a kid.
Me too, bro.
And dude, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And so I did
Jinkos and everything.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have to talk about that, but
Sure.
I see you, man. No, that's just the judgment coming up. I see. Anyway, it was perfect. It was great. Yeah, it was a good time. But so anyway, so I had the muscle memory, and I just got out there and I started having fun, and I'm like in the moment, I'm being right. And I was just doing it. And yeah, there were still moments where I was like, oh yeah, you clearly need to practice and you get your fitness back up. But I still was like doing all these little things. And I remember my son just being like, wow, Dad, wow, you're really good at that. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. I'm rusty, but yeah, I guess I'm doing pretty well. And I just kept trying to it's because I practice a lot and that sort of thing. But I'm recognizing that even when I'm trying to encourage the patterns of practice that helped me become good, I'm also like rejecting the praise. I'm not letting it sit in. Yeah, I am a pretty badass rollerblader.
Yeah.
And so I say that story to draw that parallel of the universe isn't out here, it's in here. In the same way that I was tracking the good stuff out here, I was letting the good stuff in here go unrecognized. And that's the shift, is like just recognizing that in the same way that everything around me has been good this entire time, it's just been my perspective that's been off, that's kept me from really appreciating it. Everything in here, like, I don't actually have anything I need to fix.
Yeah.
There's changes I could make. There's rememberings that can happen.
Yeah.
And also, it's fine.
It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And on the good stuff journal thing,
Yeah.
I had an idea.
Okay.
And so if you ever do the good stuff journal again, or is watching, if you think that's a great idea and you want to do a good stuff journal, skip lines. And the reason I say skip lines is because, let's say day 12, good stuff. Oh, I got a job today, or I got a raise, whatever. My kid said, I love you, blah, 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 blah. All the good stuff. But you're skipping lines because most of the good stuff that we don't recognize is good stuff until a day later, a month later, a year later, whatever, right? You can go back and write it. Like, for example, I fucking stubbed my toe. Doesn't sound like good stuff right at the beginning, but stubbing my toe dropped me to the ground, and I was sitting on the ground, and I look over and I see my son playing with Legos. Yeah. And I crawled my ass over there and I played with him. Yeah. And I had a really great time. And so stubbing my toe now becomes a good stuff because it brought my ass down, slowed my ass down, and gave me a moment with my kid
Absolutely.
that otherwise I might not have had.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
That's the whole conspiring thing, man.
Yeah.
It's like stubbing your toe doesn't seem like the universe is, hey man, I got you.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, bam, fuck. And then you make something good out of it.
Yeah.
One of the previous guests I had on here asked me what the inner alchemy is. And on the spot, I was like, I don't feel like I was trying to explain it the best I could. But it's like, for me, that word in and of itself and what I mean by that word has become like this internal knowing, but actually putting it into language is a difficult thing. But
Sure.
I think that the stubbing your toe and recognizing that it led or turned into a good stuff,
Yeah.
that's what alchemy is.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's what do you add to the mix to turn it into that if
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
bad?
You're touching on something that was pretty transformative for me in that kind of good stuff era. I came from a very paranoid place, and it was really hard to get out of, because the thing about paranoia is it's kind of like a Chinese finger trap. The more you try to get out of it, the more it like activates. And so when you're talking about alchemy, like there's so much more to alchemy, right? But
Yeah.
the core thing most people think of is turning lead into gold, like transmuting lead into gold, changing shape. And so I one night had this realization that everything that I'm afraid about is actually communicating something that I care about. So I wish I could think of an example, but I'm sure people listening at home can think about something that they're afraid of
My wife is going to get into a car crash.
because you love your wife.
Yeah. Or afraid that, like I said earlier, that some dude's going to sweep her off her feet and I'm not going to have her anymore because I love her.
Yeah, you love having her in your life. Exactly. And it's when you look at it through that lens, it doesn't all of a sudden make the fear go away. But going back to what we were talking about earlier about, okay, what's your orientation? Is your orientation away from the shadow that you don't want to be in, like you're running from something? Or is your orientation towards the light that you want to be closer to? And what I recognize is I had been in playing into my fears as they came to me, I was running away from something as opposed to sitting and thinking, what does this fear actually tell me about what I value?
Yeah.
And how do I cultivate that to a degree where the fear almost becomes impotent or there's no reason for it, because I feel so like I have such a strong faith in the thing that I value about that the fear can be there and I can acknowledge it, because there's certain things that just never go away. You're just like, okay, yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
You don't have power anymore. And like this becomes such a big, powerful thing that like the fear is like pebbles on the window sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't know if fear is ever something that we just completely don't have any. In the dualistic world that we live in, I think fear and love are the extreme opposites, not love and hate. I think it's fear and love. And because where does hate come from? It comes from fear. Where does all of the negative things come from?
Honestly, I have a different take. I think hate comes from love.
How's that?
So this is where it gets all messy, but love, I think of love as going to the thing, right? And fear going away from the thing, going back to the shadow and light thing. And hate, you're not running away from something with hate. You're running towards something with hate. And yes, it has a negative connotation, but we tend to hate things in preservation of or defense or in relation to something else we love. You're talking about polarities, and polarities is a huge thing. And there's a lot more to unpack there, but staying a little dialed in, it's like the fear and love. And then, to the side, you've got love is its own spectrum. And then it shows up as love when it's like giving, nurturing, or it shows up as hate when it's punitive, it's destructive, it's diminishing. And it's really just about, I don't know. It's something that I've thought about and I'm trying to expound upon on the fly, but maybe it's coming through, maybe it's not.
No, I think you're right. And what you said just before that about fear being present because of something we love. It points us back to something we love. And so on one side of that spectrum is I hate this thing because I'm afraid it's going to change the thing that I love and disrupt it. And that also includes fear. I
Yeah.
fear that it's going to change the thing I
I
love.
see you. And that's where I was saying it was getting messy because there's so many different axes. And if we really are just trying to look at it in like strict polarities and because like fear is over here, I guess that's what I'm saying is yes, fear and love are a true polarity, but that's not really the problem because honestly, hate, anger, a lot of these typically negative emotions can be channeled for good. But I don't know, aside from Illuminati type manipulation, I don't know of a case where fear has been harnessed for good. You get what I'm saying? That's why it feels like it's on the polarity, but then like love and hate are on their own polarity.
Yeah. And I think it's, I mean, that again, we come back to the complexity of, not the complexity, I don't like that word, the unfathomable
Yeah, exactly.
nature
Unfathomable.
of the universe.
Yes.
We can't comprehend it.
No,
and so like, we want to say, okay, this is the opposite of this. That's linear, easy to understand, right?
Yeah.
But nothing is that just straightforward in duality. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's say love is light and fear is darkness. Guess what? Neither one exists without the other.
Yeah, that was something I was thinking about earlier whenever you were talking about, this polarity and fear and love. And it's most of the time, I'm not saying that you're doing this, but most of the time when that type of conversation comes up, it is, we need this and we need to get rid of that. And you talk about...
Okay, so you said fear has never been harnessed, right?
Oh, sure.
Hold on. So I've got an example of that.
Okay,
so previous version of me, well, like I told you, what was the word I used? Like codependent. There we go. Previous version of me, codependent. So when Rain and I got together, I was very clingy, I wanted to be everywhere with her. I didn't want her to go anywhere without me. I didn't want to go anywhere without her. Stuff like that wasn't sustainable. All of that was from the fear of being rejected, the fear of being betrayed. Now, if I would have continued in that, yes, I'm reacting to fear. I'm also reacting to love for myself because I don't want to be hurt again. But that relationship, it would not have been sustainable. I would have, one, not gotten enough work, done enough work to pay the bills, or drove her nuts because I was always up her ass or whatever. And so the fear of losing her is what channeled me to change so that I could become grounded and less insecure.
Yeah.
But that's also love.
Right.
So,
yeah. You were saying one word that I can't remember. I just kept hearing abominable, how some people say abominable. But I was laughing with you because there's so much of when we try to create these definitions, when we try to use language to talk about unfathomable. Yeah. It's confounding. The idea that we could even get to a point where we really can describe it is just, it goes beyond capacity. It goes back to what we were talking about. Infinity is like the word infinity, you having, even you thinking that you know what infinity is by me saying infinity is still its own shorthand, because infinity is of such a nature that it doesn't end. It's constantly changing. You cannot put it in a box. It's like the idea of knowing God. Like you literally can't know God because then, anyway, it doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is it makes total sense that in trying to say about these things, we would fail to even say the words that we want to say, because of the words that we want to say are always going to fail to communicate like the actual isness of the thing that we're trying to describe.
Yeah.
And so you touched on this earlier. It's a fun exercise, and I'm not discouraging it because I play this game all the time. And also at the same time, we have to have the humility to remember that even if you and I get to a place where we're like, fuck yeah, we got it figured out, and we like fully agree, we're still going to be wrong.
Hey man, I've been in that place a lot of times. You smoke a joint or something, you're like, I understand everything now. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, shit, I should have wrote it down.
Yeah. Dude, I had an experience.
I wrote it down one time. It didn't
Yeah. So one time I had this experience where like everything, all the cause and effect, like death, birth, society, why we even have economy, like all of these things. I was like, I fucking know it. But then suddenly I realized everything was frozen. And then everything started to move. and I lost the sense of knowing. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot about time. So it goes back to this idea that, yes, if you freeze everything, if you crystallize everything into one moment of time, you can understand that. But this thing that we're in, that we're a part of, that we, because of the way that it's constantly changing or becoming or remembering, whatever we're calling it, it can't ever fully be known moment to moment. Because as soon as you know it, it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it expands, it grows, you remember something different. So taking it back to you.
Sure.
You have children.
I do.
And how old are they?
5 and 7.
5 and 7. At this point in your fatherhood, what is something, if you could only pick one thing, what do you want both of your children to take with them into adulthood that only you, as perfect Patrick, can give them?
Oh, man. Now you're adding a layer of, okay. Because this question has a lot of layers to it. One is, what is my unique gift? And I don't know that I know that.
If it's your unique gift, then they can't take it to adulthood with them.
But you're also saying that only perfect Patrick can give them this thing. So there's...
It means that it's derived from your experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. I think there's always going to be a gap between the answer to this question in theory and in practice, because what I want it to be is along the same thread of what we were talking about earlier, that I'm gonna love you no matter what you say or do, that their value is not tied to performance. Their value is not tied to having, that their value is intrinsic. And the reason why I say it's difficult in theory versus practice is like beyond the obvious of the ideals and what we said about perfection earlier. It also ties back to what we were talking about with norming. And there are certain decisions you make as a parent and certain manipulations and influences that you cultivate for your children that have less to do with them being themselves and more to do with an attempt to, most people would say, set them up for success. An attempt to prepare them for the world as you understand it, because you want what's best for them. Not realizing that, one, our understanding of that is based on a hallucination of what the future is going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's already flawed.
Yeah.
Then there's also all these projections of what made me successful, what made me not successful. And here's the lessons that I learned from that. So don't do this, do that. And they're very different people. They're not just different from me, they're different from each other in ways that like become more and more obvious as they get older. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so I guess I struggle with that question, because it's like recognizing that I don't fucking know. Like one of the things that here's what I think that I want them to take away, that I think that I uniquely can give them. And I think my wife does a really good job of this as well, is doing the best to give them the truth as I know it, not what I think they need to hear.
Yeah.
And obviously there's age appropriate conversations about certain things. But one of the things that can stand as an example is we were talking about, my son was having a moment of emotional dysregulation, and it was just really like intense. And so I was just trying to sit with him. And once he settled down and we're practicing the breathing exercises and grounding and all that, I see this shift happen. And it's similar to that shift that we see in guys in the ice bath. And it's just like the most beautiful thing, where it goes from this like intensity to, and I was like, okay, he's ready to listen.
Yeah.
And instead of moralizing about the thing that caused the thing, instead of, what I did was I highlighted that shift. And I said, bud, there's something I want to tell you about what just happened. You were able to get control of your emotions. And what's amazing about that is I see people my age every day that are completely incapable of doing that. There are so many grown-ups that don't even want to try and control their emotions.
I want to clarify real quick on that, or ask for some clarification.
Sure.
When you say control your emotions, Are you talking about controlling the actual emotion, or are you talking about controlling the reaction that one has to the feeling of emotion?
That's a really good distinction, because the first one is repression.
Yeah.
Is no, I'm not feeling that. I'm going to drink it away. I'm going to eat it away. I'm going to smoke it away. I'm going to YouTube it away, whatever it is. That's not healthy. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, yes, have the feeling and breathe through it, channel it. Going back to what we were saying about anger, like you can use anger positively.
Yeah.
It's just about not letting it use you. When you become the emotion's puppet, that's when you're controlled by it. When you stifle the emotion, that's when you're repressing it. But when you have this moment of, I am not angry, I'm feeling anger, and I'm going to breathe through it. I'm not going to let it cause me to make choices that I might later regret. I'm not going to project it onto other people in the sense that hurt people. Buck stops here. I got hurt. That sucks. And I'm going to create a gap between stimulus and response so I don't keep that chain of hurt going.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by he was able to control his emotions. It's something that I see so many adults that just, I don't even know that they know the language. I don't even know I think it's from Man's Search for Meaning, where he talks about there's a space between stimulus and response. And in that space relies our freedom, because in that space is our freedom to choose our response, essentially.
Yeah.
And like the whole idea is like widening that gap for as much processing as possible. And it's not about ignoring the feeling. It's about, okay, now what do I do with it? So anyway, so we're having this conversation and he's really, because the idea that like adults don't have their shit together is, I remember being a kid thinking like, they've all got it figured out.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be one of them one day.
He has a 4-wheeler. He must know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. He has a tie and he has a vacation home. And so like, he clearly has it all figured out.
Yeah.
And then becoming an adult and realizing, oh shit, no one knows what's going on. And that was the thing that I was able to give him, is in an age appropriate way, not to scare him, but to just say, hey, like you just did something that so many adults don't know how to do. And I want you to understand that everybody is doing their best and trying to figure things out. And you have an opportunity to practice this now. And trust me, you're going to get plenty of opportunities to practice, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that upsets you. And also just remember the importance of practicing this now, because one day you'll wake up and look around and see so many people who didn't take the time to practice this, and you'll see the results in their lives. You'll know them by their fruits, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing that I feel like I can give them, is like me being really honest about, here's this lived experience I had of thinking like, adults have it all figured out. And no, they don't. And that's just one, I keep repeating it, but that's one of a few different things that I've felt like I didn't get this as a kid.
Yeah.
Because either, oh, he can't handle it, or, oh, it just doesn't matter. I don't know, whatever their reasoning was. Like I was insulated from so many of these things that if someone really just sat me down and was just honest with me, it's not all like all of a sudden I was going to go repeat someone else's bad behavior that they were explaining to me or whatever it was. I would have just had context for something that like otherwise I was like filling in the gaps and making like really bad assumptions about.
Right. Man, I don't know if envy is the correct word to use, but there's a part of me that wishes somebody would have asked me that question when my kids were the ages that yours are.
Yeah.
Now, my kids turn out fucking great.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know how, but for the most part, I got a pretty good grasp on, I was a pretty good dad. But if somebody would have asked me that question when they were those ages, I would have answered something like, oh, I'm going to make sure that they go to church and they know the importance of reading their Bible. And, and it would have been bullshit. Because like, even then I know that I didn't fully believe what I participated in, but I participated in because I was norming.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I've found since then, because we all left that together, you guys aren't going to have to do this anymore. I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. But I've found that one of the greatest answers I can give, not only to my kids, but to anyone, is I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, what's this? I don't know. Let's find out. Like,
yes.
What do you think it is?
And that second part is key.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I don't know, shut the fuck up. Why are you asking why? Because I got that so much, because it was like, why? I don't fucking know. Stop asking me.
Yeah.
Instead, I overcorrected and I was like, I'm gonna answer everything.
Yeah.
But more recently, I'm glad you said that because I have been trying to lean into the I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. And it's a balance these days because you literally have the world in your pocket and they've picked that up.
Yeah.
Like when I say I don't know, they're like, all right, get out your phone and look it up. And I'm like, okay, but I could, but do you want to think about it for a second?
Yeah. Dude, so a second ago when you said that as kids, we thought adults had all their shit together, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, now that's how we thought as kids. Now we're adults and that belief still holds its ground because now it's changed from they have their shit together to I have to have my shit together because now I'm an
I was
adult,
thinking about it
right?
differently, but I like that. Yeah.
I have to have my shit together. And so when our kid asks us a question, it takes a fucking ego dissemination to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. Because we don't want to let them down and make them think that we don't have our shit together.
Absolutely.
But that's just another mask we wear.
Yeah.
And again,
Keep hitting these
it's
lights.
not always, like you said, masking isn't always a bad thing or a negative thing.
There's no place to put my... Oh, here it goes.
Oh,
I got it figured out. I just had to find the footrest.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, we're good.
But it's just crazy, like how something I wouldn't say asinine because it's not asinine, but it's minuscule. Like it's a thing that we're not aware of that isn't really that big of a deal. Because what's so wrong with having your shit together?
Yeah.
What's so wrong with pretending to have your shit together? Like if you want your kids to be like, oh, my dad, he's got his shit together.
Because we want them to have that sense of stability. We want them to have that sense of safety. And we don't want to accidentally introduce this worry that, oh, daddy doesn't have his shit together. Is everything okay?
But we overcome that with, I don't know, let's find out. Or just honesty. Hey, man, yeah, right now I'm scared. I lost my job and I don't know what I'm going to do next. But I do know that the universe is always conspiring in my favor. And so whatever comes next it's going to be awesome and whatever.
And I know what's in my control and I know what I can do next. And I know that I'm going to keep fighting for you and your mother. Those types of conversations where you can let down the mask of I'm perfect dad or whatever. And you can show them what it really is.
Yeah.
And for most people, what it really is honestly better than the mask. And that willingness to find out, that willingness to fight, that willingness to understand the gaps and weaknesses, but not understand them just in the sense of, oh, woe is me, but understand them in the sense of, yeah, now I know what to do next.
Yeah.
In modeling that.
Now, would you say that is harder to do with your kids or with your spouse?
Fuck, it's harder to do with my spouse. And really what it boils down to is two things. One, I'm also a recovering codependent. Anyway, alcoholic. I don't know. I was trying to, because there actually is a Codependence Anonymous. And
is there really?
Yes.
Oh,
I went to a few meetings. They were teasing my life history, but yeah, I was in a period of my life where I got to sample a lot of those types of meetings, 12-step meetings, and Codependence Anonymous is a thing, but I don't remember because all of those meetings start with this kind of, honestly, like fucking shameful, like admission of I'm this terrible label.
Yeah. I still can't wrap my mind around why somebody who hasn't drank a lick of alcohol in 20 years would still say I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, I totally get that because I know people that are in the program and I can see it from their perspective. It's that identification is what helps keep them anchored to the path, if you will. And so I get it. And I also don't get it. It's part of why I talked earlier about I've had struggles with severe struggles with alcohol that I've since given up. And I've had people I know and love who know and love me basically say word for word, hey, you're basically with the program already. Why don't you just get with the program and join? And I don't want to shit on what you're doing in the process of telling you why I'm not going to do it. Right. Also, thank you, but no thank you.
And that's the biggest reason, maybe the only one, that I push back against continually saying that you are something that you're not anymore, or that you're not your actions aren't doing those things anymore. So anyway, it's like the whole be impeccable with your word thing.
Yep.
It's every time if I was to say, hi, I'm Phoenix and I'm an alcoholic, like I am containing myself in the energetic prison of what it is to be an alcoholic. And then not only that, but then if I also associate shame with alcoholism, then each time I'm saying that, I'm like feeding the shame too.
Yeah, which has its own normative factor. And the one thing I'll say in its defense is that a lot of these other programs, they basically just copied AA. And so I don't think they really do it in a ideologically as pure way. But one of the things that AA, I think, I don't know if you'd say it does well, but that is at least logically consistent
Yeah.
in reaction to what you're saying, is that their definition of an alcoholic is not someone who's drunk all the time.
Yeah.
Their definition of alcoholic extends to a pattern of being that is self-serving and has a lot of these like antisocial aspects that persist even after cessation of drinking.
Yeah.
And the idea of a dry drunk is something that's colloquial, and it's not just from their, it's a real thing. There are people out there who like, they quit drinking and they're just as much of an asshole as they, like honestly, that was part of what Track the Good Stuff was so transformational about, is I quit drinking and for a few months I was still a miserable prick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like there,
Because you had to deal with the things that you were avoiding.
running
by
from.
drinking
Yes,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah. And so that's where it gets like my apologetics meets like my reality. And it's, yeah, it is different and identities are transitory and they are only as powerful as the energy that we put behind them. But
Ultimately, I would never discourage somebody from doing something that's working for them, but I would find it very hard not to offer a different perspective
sure.
in what the words coming out of your mouth have power to do.
Absolutely.
And create and hold.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because I've never once told these people I know and care about, you need to quit the program. And at the same time, I agree with you. I keep thinking of the idea of this Trojan horse, like the Trojan horse being like sobriety and all the amazing stuff that comes from that and the life transformation, but then the shame that's packaged in and so this is where it's tough, because like in some ways the group is amazing because we were talking about earlier about wanting belonging, and there's like that sense of so many addicts, like what the thing they're addicted to is filling is that void of not belonging. And so the community of the 12-step program fills that, and so much of what drives the addiction gone like that.
Right.
And that's amazing. And then so many other aspects of that community are great. And then also it goes back to the hurt people. You have a lot of people that are coming in emotionally damaged that like literally they're there because they did not make good life choices. And it can get a little crabs in a bucket. It can get a little, you're the sum of the 5 people that you're around, and they may be the most successful recovered alcoholics, but there's still, like we were talking about, certain patterns in just the language of that program that are disempowering. And and so I guess that's my message is not quit AA. My message is not go get drunk. It's fine.
Me neither.
It is, as you continue to improve your life, be auditing the things that you take for granted.
Yeah. And audit the things that could potentially be holding you in a place that you've graduated from.
Dude, yeah. Yeah.
Earlier, we were talking about, I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's find out. And unmasking, for between your kids and your wife. And you said that it's harder to do with your wife. Why is that?
Man, yeah. I think this gets to one of those fundamental biases that we have in our society that leads to a lot of the things that we've been talking about. But like, I don't think of my kids as a threat. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to say that I think of my wife as a threat, is as like powerful as she is as a woman. Like, she's a really amazing person that can do really powerful things. It's not that I think of her as a threat. It's, I don't want to threaten the relationship.
Yeah.
And, I was saying something about like, I'm also a recovering codependent. And so much of that is there's a certain element of, I struggle to picture what my life would look like without her. And I know for a fact that I don't want a life without her. And so there are certain things where I omit or edit because there is a fear that if I am just raw and unfiltered, it's going to create friction in the relationship that's going to threaten that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's something that is unwinding. And there's been recent experiences where there's been things that like I have been deathly afraid to ever mention to her or like try and have a conversation about. And again, it goes back to that, like the hallucination of what's going to happen if I do that. Being colored by our fear, being colored by our projections of judgment, being colored by so many things that aren't real.
Yeah.
And then I have the conversation and like, I'm left in tears the way that I thought I would be, but not for the reasons I thought I would be.
Right.
I thought we're going to have this conversation. She's going to say, you fucking piece of shit. I knew it. I'm out. And then I'd be in tears without her. But instead, she says something to the effect of like, wow, you've been carrying that for all this time. I forgive you. And also, it sounds like you need to forgive yourself. And I'm getting close to like emotional, just like reliving that moment because it was just like, oh shit. Like it was not what I thought it was going to be at all. It was so much better.
Yeah.
And part of that is having the right person, you know, because like at the end of the day, there are people that have made choices and that put themselves in positions that aren't safe to be that vulnerable. And I don't think you should risk your safety to try and practice this extreme vulnerability. Like if there is a true risk to your physical or emotional health, like find a way to safely get out of that first and then find like the safety and vulnerability. And like, I want that for everyone because
that's advanced relational communication skills. You know what I mean? Like, and that's coming from, two people who I know to be pretty grounded people that are doing their work and, desire to become better people and stuff like that. And, if you're brand new to this work and your significant other's never even heard of anything self-work wise, like, hey, you got to work towards it.
The baby steps.
But, Travis in the podcast with Travis, he said something to the effect of like, why would you rob somebody else of the opportunity to help you?
Dude, and that I'm getting chills again. That was such a powerful thing.
But it's like in that same, why would you rob somebody of the opportunity to show you grace?
Yeah.
Or to respond in whatever way they decide to respond. Like it's in a way when we keep things from people or when we're not, I guess, willing to bare our soul and be the most honest and vulnerable that we can be, then we rob the other person of their sovereignty in that aspect of the relationship. Like, and it's beautiful that you found grace in that moment. And I'm sure there's tons of people out there, that have something that they're holding on to that they're afraid to tell their spouse or their kids or their parents or whatever about.
Yeah.
And it's like, that thing is heavy.
Really.
And you
heavy.
drag it behind you everywhere you go. And every time something happens that reminds you of that, you can't enjoy that moment.
No.
Because you're taken back to the thing that you're hiding or the thing that you're not, being honest about or whatever.
Dude, yeah. And that's such a really good point. And it reminds me of something there's this idea, we've talked about improvement and it's like adding on, right?
Yeah.
I need to get better at this. I need to get better at that. I need more money. I need a better job, whatever it is, is adding to, but there's another angle that you touched on that really isn't given enough focus, which is, I can add all this good stuff, but how can I take away some of these detractors? And it's like, I'm trying to think of a silly example, but like, like the toilet seat, this was a big fight with my wife and I for a long time. Cause I was like, why do I have to lift it and put it down? Like, why can't you set it down and pick it? Like just silly shit.
Why can't you put it down? Why can't you put it up?
Yeah, exactly. Just nonsense. And then one day it clicked. It's like, well, there's two aspects to it. One is like, it's a simple act of service and it's someone I care about. Why would I not want to do something for them? But the other aspect of it is like, that's one less thing for her to have to think about when going to the bathroom. And it's already more difficult for her to go to the bathroom than it is for me. Like I can go outside, go anywhere.
And the amount of things that women have to do in the bathroom
too. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, I could easily remove a friction point. And in life, not to pathologize, but to just recognize what is, life is a series of friction points, and you can add all of these like pleasure points or whatever we want to call the opposite of like more money, better job, like beautiful girl, whatever it is that you're like improving on. But that only goes so far if you're not also removing the friction points.
Mm-hmm.
And I say all that to say, like, you're absolutely right. That conversation, like, I did leave with grace, and that was a beautiful outcome. And also, even more powerful than that, I left with one less friction point, because there were so many times where I was experiencing something that was supposed to be pure and good and beautiful that was poisoned, for lack of a better word, by this thing that I was carrying. And it took the bravery to set it on the table and say, here's this thing I've been carrying, you know. And you can't, like, there's certain things that you can just set them down. Like, you don't have to set them on the table.
Yeah.
And so find those things, set them down, like, as quickly as you can, like, set all that shit down. Like, everybody is carrying so much more than they should be, like myself included, even having this awareness. And also there are certain things that you can't just set down, because then, like, you're always just remembering, yeah, but that's back there. I hope they don't go. I hope they don't look back where I've been and find it, you know, like, you have to set it on the table.
I remember times of thinking like, I can learn to live with this. There's no way that I'm going to tell this to her because it's going to hurt her.
Yeah.
And I can live with it. And then, of course, there's no way I could tell her because I don't want to lose her. And you know, so there's a selfish aspect, and then there's a trying to manage her emotions aspect, and, you know, all of that stuff. But ultimately, what you did that day was what I now understand to be valor. You know, it's
wow. Thank you.
Yeah, it's I mean, valor is the refusal to let fear make your decision.
Boo. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is huge, man. And that's funny thing. Valor is the city of Gene Key 21, which is the shadow of control.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming full circle on this one.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Now, on a side note, do you know how I fixed the toilet seat up or down thing?
Just remove the toilet seat?
I just started sitting down to pee, man. It's fucking great. Get a rest the legs. I don't have to worry about dribble. You know, like it's great.
Modern problems, modern solutions. I love it.
Well, Patrick, I am so happy that you've come here to do this podcast episode today. I think we've had some great conversations.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do it again with you. This won't be the last time you're on here.
No, certainly not.
Definitely not the last time I see you. For those who don't know, Patrick is also a co-facilitator with the Sacred Ember Retreats.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love having him as part of the team, and man, we're doing great things.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great thing to be a part of. It's a great, I mean, it's like my first time out here was on my birthday, and I had a few people tell me like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you going to serve others on your birthday? Like, aren't you going to go like party or something? And I was like, so you don't get it. It's not actually, this is for me. Like you think that I'm like serving, you think that I'm giving, but like there's so much in this community that like is reciprocal, that like without people even, you know, it's kind of like we were talking about the manipulating without knowing sort of thing. Without even knowing, they're giving gifts. Like everybody out here is just exchanging love and support and like all sorts of goodness just without even trying. It's amazing.
That's one of the things that Ram Dass said all the time. Is one of the best things you can do for yourself is serve other people.
Yeah.
And,
I love that.
You know, it's a beautiful thing. And I mean, there's parts where in serving people that I really, really, really enjoy. When I see somebody have an epiphany, or when I see somebody cry because they're having some sort of breakthrough or realization or whatever it is, or even when I see somebody shake during breath work, or, you know, when we do the shaking exercise, and they're shaking, you know, and the guys that are kind of new, they're just kind of, you know, like awkwardly, you know, and those who have been there for a while, they're dancing and like throwing their arms around and just free with themselves. And then to see the transition from that initial, like, I can't move my body because I'm afraid people are looking at me and I'm uncomfortable moving and, you know, whatever, to like, when it finally breaks free and they're just like, oh, wait, this shit feels good. Oh my gosh, I like it. You know, those moments, yes, serving people is beautiful and it's good and it feels good to say I serve other people.
Sure.
damn, it feels good to watch people break through and
Absolutely.
freaking, you know, find themselves and
Yeah.
find that ember and blow on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
This is the Inner Alchemy. And oh, shit, I cannot forget this part. There's one
Okay.
more thing.
Okay.
If you could tell your younger self anything at all, one sentence, what would it be?
Buy Bitcoin? No.
Yeah. Or
No.
invest in Apple. one of
Yeah,
the two.
right. Yeah, no. Serious question, serious answer. Man, it's hard to put it in one because there's so many things. And I guess I would say that trust that there's a reason. Because there's a lot of things that happened in my life that felt meaningless. And we didn't touch on my story at all.
Yeah.
Really, which is ironic because like that was, but there's a lot of shit that happened both because of me or because of other things around me that now on this side of things, like you were saying something earlier about like the stubbing your toe thing, right? It's a lot of shit like that. I stubbed my toe so many times. People stubbed my toe for me so many times. And in the moment, it was hell because I didn't have that perspective of everything's going to be okay. Everything's perfect. And the universe is conspiring in your favor, even when it looks like it's being a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, that would be it.
I like it, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me here. It's been fun.
I love you.
I
Till
love you
next
too,
time.
brother. We'll see you next time.